Welcome to the Depth Dive. Today, we're embarking on a really extraordinary journey. We're going to trace this profound historical vision, something that's captivated thinkers for centuries.
Right, the whole idea of a united Europe.
Exactly. And it goes way back. Imagine, like, the 18th century, you had figures like Immanuel Kant, the philosopher,
hmm
William Penn, founder of Pennsylvania, even Maximilian July. They were all talking about different versions of this.
Yeah, different flavors like a Union of Independent European States or Kant's Union of States, maybe even a Union of Peoples.
Right. So the point is, this core idea of a deeply integrated Europe, it's not some modern thing. It's really deeply rooted in European thought, way before the EU we know today.
It shows this kind of persistent dream, doesn't it? For continental peace, for cooperation.
Absolutely. So for this deep dive, our mission is, well, pretty clear. We're going to unpack the remarkable and, let's be honest, often complex journey of the European Union.
From its very beginnings.
Yeah, from its foundational principles right up to its current status as, well, a global power.
And we're zeroing in on the expansion strategy.
We are, particularly its extensive and strategic expansion with a really sharp focus on the Western Balkans.
Okay.
Our goal is to understand the history, sure, but also the unique policies developed for this specific, very intricate region.
And the challenges, too, which are significant.
Definitely the ongoing challenges, and maybe even more critically, the profound strategic importance of bringing this vital area fully into the European fold.
It's geopolitics in action, really.
It absolutely is.
Okay.
Okay, let's really get into this fascinating journey of European integration and discover why the Western Balkans are such a crucial, indispensable piece of its grand design.
It's amazing, isn't it, how those early ideas, often seen as, well, utopian back then,
Right? Pipe dreams.
have evolved into this complex, multi-layered, and incredibly impactful organization we see today. It really is a living experiment in cooperation.
It is. And to really get a grip on the EU's direction and its future ambitions, we have to start at the beginning. The genesis.
The foundation stone.
The absolute foundational stone. The European Coal and Steel Community, the ECSC.
Launched back in 52.
1952 in Paris. And it wasn't just another trade deal, it was truly revolutionary.
Sorted by 6 countries, the pioneers.
France, West Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg. Think about it, this is just years after World War II.
The most devastating war ever.
And these nations, many bitter enemies just a few years before, decide to link up their most vital industrial resources, coal and steel.
What's truly fascinating there, I think, is how the architects, people like Jean Monnet, Robert Schuman, they understood something deep.
Well, that.
That real lasting peace needed more than just treaties and borders. It needed deep economic interdependence.
Tying fortunes together.
Exactly. Fundamentally altering the whole calculus of conflict between these old rivals.
Mm-hmm.
The ECSC wasn't just about pooling coal and steel.
Right.
It was hailed as Europe's first truly transnational institution. That's key. Before this, cooperation was mostly intergovernmental states working together, but keeping all their sovereignty.
Okay, so what did transnational mean in practice?
It meant creating a shared authority, delegating certain national powers to a higher common institution. There was really no precedent for this globally.
Wow, so designed to make war.
Not just undesirable, but literally unthinkable, because the economic engines needed for war would be shared, controlled together.
That's a crucial distinction, isn't it? The significance went way beyond the immediate economics.
Oh, no, absolutely. At its heart, this was a profound peace project.
Explicitly aimed at ending the great wars and destruction that had just ripped the continent apart for centuries.
Especially those devastating rivalries between France and Germany over those very resources, the Ruhr, the Saarland.
Right, so by intertwining their industrial futures, making it impossible for one country to unilaterally grab the materials for war.
The goal was to make future conflict materially impossible.
Oh.
A really audacious vision.
It really established that core idea, didn't it? Fostering an attractive welfare economy through cooperation.
Showing that working together could lead to shared prosperity, not just competition.
Laying the groundwork for a truly unified continent based on mutual benefit.
Precisely. And from that first big step, the journey towards deeper integration really picked up speed.
So what came next?
We saw 2 more pivotal communities established. Euratom, the European Atomic Energy Community.
Focused on nuclear energy, peaceful use.
Right. And the big one, the European Economic Community, the EEC, aiming for a much broader common market.
And they were set up together.
Both established simultaneously March 25, 1957. signed in Rome the treaties of Rome by the original six founders.
Okay. And you were telling that's still sort of separate but linked?
Yeah, it technically keeps its own legal personality separate from the EU, but it's very closely intertwined, especially when it comes to who's a member. Its existence still highlights that strategic importance of energy security and nuclear cooperation.
Got it. So these Rome treaties really signaled a major jump in ambition, moving beyond just coal and steel.
Right, into much broader economic, even social spheres.
And the EEC, crucially, it enshrined a foundational principle, didn't it?
It did, that any democratic European country could aspire to join.
That's huge, an open invitation.
It signaled a commitment not just to economic integration, but really towards a comprehensive economic and political union, a beacon for other democratic nations on the continent.
So this growing commitment logically led to a need for, well, consolidation.
Exactly. The next pivotal step was streamlining things. The merger treaty, signed April 8, 1965 in Brussels.
Came into force when?
July 1st, 1967. And what it did was unify the executive bodies, the commissions, the councils of the ECSC, Euratom, and the EEC, all under one organizational umbrella.
Ah, bringing it all together.
Streamlining.
Basically, yeah, streamlined decision-making administration. This really marked the formal start of what people call the European Community era.
Making it more efficient, giving it a more unified identity.
But that consolidation, it feels like more than just an administrative shuffle, you know?
It absolutely was. It symbolized a much stronger, unified front for the future.
Projecting a single cohesive entity onto the world stage, maybe, instead of just separate projects.
Precisely. It was a crucial milestone on that path towards the greater united Europe ideal, strengthening its capacity to act as a global power.
Giving it a real sense of singular purpose, direction, signaling this whole project was here to stay and grow.
It certainly did.
Yeah.
And with that stronger, consolidated base, the community was then ready for the next big phase, expansion.
The famous waves of enlargement.
Successive waves, yeah. Steadily building into a true continent-wide union. And this growth wasn't just random.
No, it felt strategic.
Deeply strategic, reinforcing those core values, peace, democracy, economic prosperity.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. The sheer scale of this expansion, from just 6 countries
To a massive continent-spanning union.
It's unprecedented in modern history, isn't it? The first enlargement, 1973.
Right.
And it's fascinating how countries that were initially hesitant, like the UK, eventually saw the benefits.
Well, the UK's case is interesting. They were facing big economic challenges at home in the 60s and early 70s.
Industrial decline needed new markets.
Exactly. Joining the EEC looked like a way to offset losses from dwindling Commonwealth trade and tap into Europe's growing common market.
But it wasn't easy for them to get in.
No, their path was persistent. They applied first in 61, then again in 67.
And both times.
Famously blocked. French vetoes under President Charles de Gaulle.
Right. Why was he so against it?
De Gaulle was deeply skeptical. He saw the UK as too tied to the US, maybe not European enough in outlook. He worried they'd dilute his vision of a more independent continental Europe.
So de Gaulle leaving power was the key.
His resignation in 1969 was absolutely critical. It cleared the path. Without that political shift, who knows how long it might have taken or if it would have happened at all.
Shows how politics shapes history.
Fundamentally.
So finally, January 1st, 1973, the UK gets in.
Along with Ireland and Denmark, making it 9 members.
And Norway applied too, but didn't join.
Correct. They had a referendum and the public voted no. Concerns about sovereignty, farming, fishing rights were major factors.
Interesting. So the community grew from 6 to 9? More weight, new perspectives.
Indeed. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, like you said, this growth wasn't just about numbers. It was a strategic projection of values.
Peace, democracy, prosperity.
Spreading across a continent that had been defined by conflict and, frankly, authoritarianism for so long.
Which leads us to the second enlargement.
1981, Greece. And this one really underscored that commitment to supporting democratic transitions.
Greece's journey is a powerful story, isn't it? Highlighting the EU as this guarantor of democracy.
It really is. After the military coup in 67, the colonel's junta,
Right.
their path to membership was obviously put on hold. The community was very clear. You had to be a democracy to join.
So when democracy returned...
After 8 years, democracy was restored in 1975. Greece renewed its application almost immediately.
And joined when?
January 1st, 1981, becoming the 10th member.
That must have sent a powerful signal across Europe.
Absolutely. that joining the club meant adhering to core political principles. It helped consolidate democracy, not just in Greece, but set a standard.
And this commitment continued, right? With a third enlargement.
Powerfully so. 1986, Spain and Portugal.
Both emerging from long dictatorships.
Exactly. Both applied in 1977, shortly after major transitions. Franco's death in Spain in 75, the end of Salazar's regime in Portugal.
So their joining in 86 was another boost for democratic consolidation.
Hugely. They formally joined January 1st, 1986, after signing treaties in 85. Spain even had a 7-year adaptation period, mostly for agriculture.
Okay. So this further cemented the EU's role in supporting democracy.
It sent a profound message. The EU was the destination for stable, democratic states, offering economic and political stability as the reward for that transformation.
Then we jump forward a bit to the fourth enlargement.
1995. This time, it was ETA countries joining the European Free Trade Association.
Austria, Sweden, Finland.
Right. They became full members January 1st, 1995, after applying a few years earlier.
Expanding the union to 15 members.
And these were, highly developed, prosperous economies, strong democracies. Their entry boosted the EU's economic clout, environmental standards, social models.
A steady, deliberate expansion, adding depth.
Yes, very much so. But then came the big one.
The Big Bang.
2004, the fifth enlargement, often called the largest and strongest enlargement ever.
How many joined?
10 countries, all at once on May 1st, 2004. Hungary, Poland, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Slovenia, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia,
The Baltics.
Malta, and the Greek Cypriot administration. Suddenly, the EU jumped from 15 to 25 members.
Wow. The logistical challenge alone must have been immense.
Huge. Deep reforms needed in the new members, significant adjustments within the EU itself.
And the significance, this was clearly linked to the end of the Cold War.
Absolutely. A direct, profound consequence. A powerful, symbolic, and practical move to integrate Central and Eastern European countries, bringing them back into the European fold after decades behind the Iron Curtain.
Healing the continent's divisions.
Explicitly seen that way. Healing the pain and destruction from wars and ideology by uniting former adversaries in a common, peaceful, prosperous future.
Fulfilling that European dream for many.
It really was a monumental shift in Europe's geopolitical landscape.
But that Eastern wave wasn't quite done yet.
Not quite. The sixth enlargement followed in 2007, January 1st.
Bringing in
Bulgaria and Romania, raising the total to 27 members at that point. Wait, 28 if we count Croatia later. Let me recheck the math. Yes, 27 then.
They applied earlier, though, right?
Yes, back in 95. Negotiations started in 2000, treaties signed in 2005. Their path was a bit longer, reflecting some specific reform challenges, like in the judiciary, fighting corruption.
So this was seen as completing that 2004 wave.
Largely, yes. A continuation, a complement to the Big Bang, enabling these strategic Balkan countries to finally shed that shadow of Soviet influence.
Integrating them fully, extending that zone of stability further east.
Anchoring them firmly in the Euro-Atlantic community, a decisive break from their communist pasts.
And the most recent accession?
The seventh enlargement. Croatia.
When did they join?
July 1st, 2013. Becoming the EU's 28th member, their negotiation process started back in 2005.
And their journey was closely watched, first from the former Yugoslavia post-conflict.
Exactly. While they still had reforms to make, some suggest their smaller size, perhaps perception of less economic burden compared to other candidates, might have helped.
That's quite a story. Consistent expansion, integration, shows the EU's pull, but also its evolving standards.
Absolutely.
So, okay, we've traced this incredible, often bumpy growth of the EU from 6 founders to this huge union that has just fundamentally reshaped Europe.
A massive transformation.
But now, let's pivot. Let's talk about a region shaped by its own complex, often turbulent history, and increasingly looking to Europe for its future.
The Western Balkans.
The Western Balkans, a crucial test case for the EU's ongoing enlargement policy. So, what does this all mean for the region we now specifically call the Western Balkans?
Well, to get the Western Balkans today, you absolutely have to start with the disintegration of Yugoslavia. That was the seismic event, the catalyst for everything that followed.
The Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, it covered a huge area.
About 70% of the Balkan geography, held together diverse ethnic, religious groups under Tito. But after his death in 1980,
Things started to fray.
dramatically.
Yeah.
Initially, they tried a collective leadership, rotating presidents from the 6 republics, but that fragile stability didn't last. Cracks were appearing underneath,
And internal conflicts started emerging.
rapidly intensifying. You had the Kosovo problem becoming really volatile from '86 onwards, Kosovo pushing for republic status, breaking free from rising Serbian nationalism under Milosevic,
And then Slovenia and Croatia.
quickly followed. Pronounced nationalist movements demanding more autonomy, maybe even independence from Belgrade.
And external factors played a role, too.
Hugely. They acted like accelerants. Think about what was happening elsewhere. Nationalism, democratization in the Soviet Union under Gorbachev.
Glasnost, perestroika.
Right. And then the rapid collapse of communist regimes across Eastern Europe in late '89. East Germany, Bulgaria, Romania.
That must have resonated deeply in Yugoslavia.
Immensely. It accelerated those internal nationalist and democratic processes that had been suppressed. It signaled huge trouble ahead for a country with so many diverse groups, now without Tito's strong hand.
So the end of the Cold War just shattered things in the Balkans.
Profoundly affected state structures everywhere. Yugoslavia's dissolution broke that delicate balance that had allowed different groups to coexist, however uneasily.
And the breakdown led to?
Fueled by old grievances, rising nationalism, it led to the brutal formation of new states based on distinct, often exclusive, national identities.
Unleashing that chain of nationalism-based regional conflicts.
Exactly. Impacted the whole geography, causing terrible suffering, displacement, a period of intense upheaval, violence, total redefinition.
So after Yugoslavia dissolved and the conflicts raged, this new term emerged.
Western Balkans, yes. It took its place internationally to define that post-Yugoslav space, plus Albania.
And we saw new independent states emerge.
A rapid sequence. Croatia, Macedonia, now North Macedonia, Slovenia in '91, Bosnia and Herzegovina in '92, Montenegro and Serbia formally separating in 2006, Kosovo declaring independence in 2008.
And Albania, already independent, is included.
Yes, geographically and politically included. Shared history, interconnectedness. So internationally, Western Balkans means Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Montenegro, Kosovo, North Macedonia, and Serbia.
But even with independence, the region still faces huge challenges, potential hot conflict dynamics.
Unfortunately, yes, deeply entrenched issues remain. The ongoing disagreements between Serbia and Kosovo over statehood, borders, that's still very live.
And the name dispute.
The historical name dispute between North Macedonia and Greece held things up for years, showed how deep historical narratives can block progress. That's thankfully resolved now, but it took ages.
And Bosnia.
Persistent managerial, ethnic difficulties within Bosnia and Herzegovina, stemming directly from that complex, often unwieldy political structure set up by the Dayton Peace Agreement.
Which kind of enshrined ethnic divisions in the government.
Pretty much, yeah, leading to political deadlock.
These challenges really underscore the fragility of peace there, the deep-seated issues.
Absolutely. And speaking of Dayton, the Dayton Peace Agreement itself is such a critical piece of this story. It set the rules for post-war Bosnia.
Signed in late
A
'95.
preliminary draft agreed in Dayton, Ohio, November '95. Intense negotiations, then formally signed in Paris, December 14th, '95, by Izetbegovic for Bosnia, Tudjman for Croatia, Milosevic for Yugoslavia.
And it's often called an American architecture.
Widely considered that, yes. Figures like Richard Holbrooke were key facilitators. Intense negotiations, a lot of political pressure applied to get the leaders to sign.
Basically forcing a peace deal to stop the killing.
That was the U.S. approach, yes.
Yeah.
Strong-arm tactics at times. But while the U.S. led, we should acknowledge others were involved.
Russia, Germany, France, UK, Italy.
Right, a collective international desire to end the conflict. Some agreements were already sketched out earlier in Geneva and New York.
And the U.S. was clearly committed, training troops for deployment even before it was signed.
Showed their determination, yes. But this raises that crucial question you touched on earlier.
How much did that external pressure shape the peace?
Exactly. And what does that mean for internal self-governance, for reconciliation in the long run? Does a peace largely imposed from outside truly foster internal cohesion?
That is a profound question, especially for long-term stability. An American architecture can stop the fighting, sure.
But it can leave deep issues unresolved within the society.
In Bosnia's case, Dayton ended the war, but arguably solidified ethnic divisions through its power-sharing structures.
Hindering a unified national identity, maybe perpetuating deadlock.
The challenge has been moving beyond just freezing conflict lines into becoming a functioning, unified state. It shows how hard it is to build self-governance when the blueprint is external.
A huge challenge.
Okay, so let's shift now to how the EU, recognizing all these complexities and the strategic importance, developed specific policies for the region.
Trying to foster peace and prosperity.
The first big concerted step was the regional approach in 1997.
Right. Developed by the EU in April 97. The aim was stabilization after the conflicts, bringing the countries closer to the EU politically and economically.
Acting as a stabilizing anchor?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Promoting core European values, democracy, rule of law, human rights, and fostering reconciliation, regional cooperation for overall security. The EU knew a stable neighborhood was vital for itself, too.
But initially it wasn't about membership, was it? Unlike for Central and Eastern Europe.
No, not explicitly. For Central and Eastern Europe, after the Cold War, there's a clearer, faster path to membership based on meeting the Copenhagen criteria: democracy, market economy, EU law.
So what were the Western Balkans offered initially?
More like commercial concessions and financial aid.
Hmm.
Building contractual relationships. The main goal was immediate post-conflict stability, basic prosperity, not instant accession.
And this covered Croatia, Bosnia, Albania, Macedonia, and what was then Yugoslavia, Serbia, Montenegro, Kosovo.
Correct, that was the scope.
But then things shifted towards a clearer membership path.
Yes, building on that, in May 1999, the European Commission unveiled a much more ambitious vision, the Stabilization and Association Process, or SAP.
Okay, more ambitious how?
It strongly emphasized establishing the rule of law, creating democratic, stable institutions, transitioning to a free market economy. But crucially, and this was the big pivot it specified, that meeting these conditions would finally open a membership perspective.
Okay. Let's unpack that shift from just aid and trade deals to a clear potential path to membership. What really triggered that change? It feels significant.
It was a major turning point, likely triggered by a couple of things. One, the ongoing instability, especially the Kosovo War happening right then in '99.
Right.
And two, probably the lessons learned from the success of the earlier enlargement to Central and Eastern Europe.
What lessons?
That just giving aid wasn't enough for long-term stability in a region still wrestling with deep ethnic tensions and weak institutions. They realized only the powerful incentive of full membership could drive the deep systemic reforms needed.
The carrot of joining the club.
Exactly. So, successfully completing the SAP plus meeting the Copenhagen criteria would lead to signing a Stabilization and Association Agreement, an SAA.
Signifying a much deeper relationship.
A deeper level of cooperation, commitment. And the Western Balkan countries, in return, committed to major reforms, political, economic, fighting organized crime, corruption, boosting regional cooperation.
And the EU put money behind it.
Yes, with a new, substantial financial tool, CARDS Community Assistance for Reconstruction, Development, and Stabilization, significant funding for institution building, economic recovery, a clear, strategic, two-way process.
And even before the SAP, there was something laying groundwork, the Remont process.
Yes. Initiated December 13, 1995, in France, just days before Dayton was formally signed. This was actually the EU's first comprehensive approach to the Western Balkans,
What was its aim?
a declaration on stability and good neighborly relations in Southeast Europe, adopted by 27 countries, showing huge international concern. Its immediate aim was helping implement the Dayton Agreement, fostering good neighborly relations, reconciliation beyond just the formal peace terms.
And later?
In 98-99, it broadened out to supporting democracy and civil society, recognizing that lasting peace needed more than just stopping the fighting.
And who was involved? It sounds like everyone.
Pretty much all parts of former Yugoslavia, neighbors like Albania, Hungary, Bulgaria, Romania, Turkey, EU states, Russia, the US, key EU bodies, OSCE, Council of Europe, a truly collective international effort.
Then came the Stability Pact for Southeastern Europe, more long-term strategies.
Exactly, envisioning ambitious long-term strategies for stability and economic development for the whole region. The EU saw this as the key initiative to really bind these countries to European values and structures.
Moving them decisively towards integration.
Its fundamental goal was creating a long-term, self-sustaining stability, multi-pronged, supporting peace, promoting democracy, ensuring human rights, especially minority rights, accelerating economic development,
And bringing former Yugoslavia closer to Europe's systems.
transforming them from conflict zones into partners.
And the areas of cooperation were detailed.
Incredibly so, aiming for permanent stability. Things like strong institutions respecting human rights, independent justice and media, empowering civil society, sound macroeconomic policies, adopting free market rules, especially trade liberalization, a real blueprint for transformation.
And the biggest incentive.
The most significant concrete incentive offered by the Stability Pact, the real driver for reform, was that full EU membership perspective,
Making it a tangible goal.
turning a vague promise into something concrete, providing the motivation for those difficult, often unpopular domestic changes.
That ambition really seemed to crystallize at the Zagreb summit in 2000.
Yes, that was a landmark. The very first summit meeting between EU member states and Western Balkan countries signaled a new era of direct high-level engagement.
Held in Zagreb, November 2000.
And the Zagreb Declaration issued afterwards formalized the shared commitments, the key points agreed between both sides.
What were those key points?
They were crucial for setting the roadmap. Included things like signing those Stabilization and Association Agreements, SAAs, once conditions were met, putting the SAP into action.
Oh,
A commitment to seriously enhance economic and trade relations, an agreement to increase financial aid to support reforms,
practical support.
robust support for developing democracy, civil society, education institutions, and a strong pledge for cooperation on justice and home affairs, fighting organized crime, cross-border issues. A really comprehensive plan with political backing.
And this roadmap got refined and sped up with the Thessaloniki Agenda in 2003.
Exactly. A new, more detailed agenda prepared by the Commission. A key topic at the second EU Western Balkans Summit in Thessaloniki, June 2003, aimed to give the whole process more structure, more dynamism.
This really shows the EU getting more tailored, more sophisticated in its approach.
It does, moving beyond broad frameworks to specific country-by-country plans, reflecting a genuine, evolving commitment to actually make integration happen.
So what did Thessaloniki propose specifically?
Several key things for accelerated integration, like creating individual European partnership documents for each country,
Tailored plans.
outlining specific short and medium-term reform priorities based on their unique challenges with regular updates planned. These were tied directly to the annual progress reports.
And it wasn't just the EU telling them what to do.
No, it was collaborative. It required the Western Balkan countries to prepare and implement their own distinct action plans, showing how they meet those priorities.
With monitoring.
The Commission committed to monitoring these plans through rigorous annual reports. Plus, EU financial aid was streamlined, prioritized based on those partnership documents, and the CARDS budget got a significant boost for 2004-2006. Real money behind the reforms.
What else?
Expanding twinning projects across the whole region. These pair up public administrations to share expertise, ensuring access to broader technical assistance,
And participation in EU programs.
proposals for them to participate in EU community programs and agencies, similar to how candidate countries do it.
Yeah.
Using CARDS funding to facilitate that, it was a very practical, detailed, institutionalized plan.
All these policies eventually fed into bigger economic frameworks like the Southeast Europe 2020 strategy.
Right, that strategy was a direct response to the economic crisis of the early 2010s.
The global and European crises hit the Western Balkans hard.
Severely. The region lost around 800,000 jobs, devastating. Public debt doubled. So this strategy tackled that head-on.
So what does this mean for people there today? Struggling with unemployment, inequality. This strategy aimed right at that.
It absolutely did, making economic recovery and sustainable growth the absolute central focus. The goal: increase employment, boost income per person, attract foreign investment. Because the indicators there were way below EU averages, creating this persistent socioeconomic gap.
And recent protests were linked to these issues.
Directly linked to social and economic inequalities. It highlighted that improving the economy isn't just nice to have, it's key to resolving social tensions and achieving real stability.
So the strategy promoted stability, democracy, human rights.
And crucially, stimulating deep regional integration through economic ties, built on a holistic, inclusive, sustainable growth model with strong governance for accountability.
Based on pillars and activity areas.
5 core pillars: integrated, smart, sustainable, inclusive growth, plus good governance, supported by 6 activity areas: skills, investment, inclusion, innovation, resource efficiency, connectivity. Countries develop national strategies, then regional action plans. A nested approach.
But it relied on voluntary participation.
Yes, so efforts were made to make it feasible, developing specific, measurable indicators for each country to track progress, using concrete incentives activated by the Commission based on advancements, a results-oriented approach to economic progress.
Okay, so after tracing the EU's own journey and its evolving policies towards the Western Balkans, Let's look at the path ahead now.
The challenges that remain.
Because despite all the positive progress compared to the past, significant challenges are still there for the current candidates. Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, North Macedonia, Serbia.
And these aren't small issues. They often go to the very core of how the state functions. This really raises that question about long-term stability if these fundamental problems aren't tackled more decisively.
By the countries themselves and with EU support.
Exactly. Look at Albania, still grappling with internal political crises, deep partisan divides that just block reform.
And Bosnia.
Still struggling with severe institutional dysfunction, those ethnic nationalist issues baked in since Dayton. A largely dysfunctional central state, constant political deadlock.
And the list goes on, right? Montenegro.
An official candidate, yes, but facing ongoing difficulties fighting black money, corruption, illegal activities. Still really striving for success there. Organized crime has a deep influence.
North Macedonia.
Thankfully, resolved the name issue with Greece after years of frustration that blocked talks. But other reforms still need work.
And Serbia.
A key player, but still hasn't made enough progress on extraditing war criminals, which impacts regional reconciliation and rule of law reforms.
It's quite a list. It really illustrates that the Western Balkans is still, in many ways, a tangle of issues.
Deeply intertwined, historically rooted problems.
Though, while the challenges are huge, we shouldn't forget the progress made.
Absolutely not. It's crucial to acknowledge the substantial, successful progress these countries have achieved. They've undertaken tough reforms, shown real commitment.
So maybe refining that definition, not just a tangle of issues.
Perhaps, as the sources suggest, a more nuanced description. A diverse, complex, and intricate region that better reflects the unique stories, the advancements, the dynamism, not just the problems.
That's a vital distinction. Now let's really unpack this. Why is this specific region so strategically vital to the bigger European project, beyond its own borders?
Because the analysis suggests that for the Western Balkans to get lasting stability, rapid, resolute steps towards EU inclusion are imperative. Not just helpful, but imperative.
Crucial because of their unique position.
Their unique geostrategic and geopolitical position. Membership under the EU umbrella is seen as absolutely key.
And the benefits reach far beyond the region itself.
The positive ripple effects are seen as far-reaching. Their presence within the EU would bring peace, prosperity not just there, but across the whole European continent.
Impacting adjacent areas, too.
The Mediterranean, the Black Sea Basin, even post-Soviet countries like Ukraine, Moldova, Belarus. It connects the whole continent in a web of stability.
So their presence is expected to positively impact economic, cultural, political relations all around.
That's the expectation. It's seen as one of those essential puzzle pieces for completing the EU's whole enlargement perspective.
Their integration into the EU's systems, economic, political, legal, is deemed essential.
Essential not just for them, but for the EU's own cohesion and integrity. The political enlargement is only truly complete with the Western Balkans, which requires a continued culture of consensus to align and absorb them effectively.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, their integration isn't just regional stability.
No, it's about solidifying the EU's role as a coherent, influential global actor.
Especially now.
Especially in a world where powers like the US, Russia, China are expanding their influence and globalization brings complexities. The EU's effectiveness depends on producing realistic policies and acting as a robust economic and political power organization.
Integrating the Balkans is part of that strategic consolidation.
It absolutely is.
And there's that critical, very current factor, migration.
Can't overstate that. A significant portion of the migration flow towards Europe comes through the Western Balkans.
So including them as members strengthens EU security.
Concurrently strengthens the EU's security and defense dimension strategy. It's about shared security, border management, intelligence sharing, all paramount today.
So even with setbacks like Brexit.
Yeah, even with doubts raised by the UK leaving in 2016.
The EU's strategic goals show commitment.
Its goals for 2020-2025 show an unwavering commitment to expansion and engagement, especially in its neighborhood.
Developing a permanent neighborhood policy.
Exactly. To respond to diverse global challenges, Afghanistan, Kashmir, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, the African Sahel, Libya, Sudan, Mali. integrating the Western Balkans as part of this bigger strategic picture for the EU.
Securing its borders, projecting stability, a long-term vision transcending immediate problems.
Demonstrating that long-term strategic vision, yes.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, we've really covered some ground. Trace the EU's incredible 65-year journey,
From coal and steel to a continent-spanning union.
reshaping European history. And we've explored that intricate, often challenging relationship with the Western Balkans.
A region shaped by conflict but so vital for Europe's future.
And understanding this ongoing process, it's not just academic, is it? It's a crucial shortcut to being well-informed about a really dynamic, critical part of global geopolitics today.
It really is. And, the source material describes the EU as this unique supranational structure, maybe even a role model for other continents facing similar issues.
Which leads to a final thought.
A fascinating, thought-provoking question for you, our listener. What transferable lessons does the EU's ambitious and, let's face it, imperfect project of deep integration and peace building actually offer to other regions? Regions grappling with their own complex histories, ethnic divides, geopolitical pressures.
Can that realpolitik, that pragmatic, sometimes tough approach seen in Europe's expansion, prioritizing stability, strategic interests, can that serve as a blueprint elsewhere?
Or does Europe's unique context limit how replicable it is? It's still a grand experiment in global cooperation, still unfolding. Its future remains compelling to watch.
So what does this all mean for the future of continental unity and maybe even global stability as we continue to watch this evolving dance between ambition and reality in Europe's grand project?
Something to keep thinking about.
Keep pondering that, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.